Oh, it's my turn this time.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Shelf. Ha! You thought I was going to say something else. I'm sure you did.
What else would it be? You don't
I,
introduce any of our other shows.
I don't. Look, I've had wine today.
Look,
Don't get
arguably,
mad at
Vaughn
me.
introduces the anime club more than you.
Don't get mad at me. I've had wine today. um, so there's a little bit of a story behind the manga we read is by no means something that's like super well known or super popular, right? Like you've never heard of this. It was really hard for me to like find it when I looked it up and stuff like that, but I remember I picked up this first volume of this manga from like a scholastic book fair warehouse sale at the end of the year that was open to like teachers only, right? It was like the only one of the series that was being sold. I never found another copy sold anywhere else. It's one of those early 2000s Tokyo Pop titles that was not picked up by another publisher when the American branch went under. And it actually has like 16 volumes, like 15 or 16 volumes. And at the time when I originally got the book, I did go through and read them all. So I have completed this series, even though I gotta be honest, I never tried to collect it, and I think at one point I actually got rid of my original copy of this manga because I hated it so much. And then I saw it at Half Price Books, and just the nostalgia welled up in me, and I felt beholden to purchase this, the first manga I ever read. Because this is the manga that holds that status. This is the first manga book I ever owned and read. And it is Vampire Game by Judal.
I mean, there's a joke somewhere in there about hidden gems, except they're hidden turds. But, you know, I didn't think it was that bad.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I hate on this manga pretty frequently to kind of anyone who will, like, listen. But it's not terrible. It's not the worst manga I've ever read. There are other things that hold that title. It is certainly a product of its time in terms of, like, the art style and the way that it's drawn. It does have that, like, very, like, 90s to early 2000s, like...
You can tell it's shoujo.
Yeah, very much so. Like look, it's a specific like character face models and stuff.
Everyone looks like they're constantly everyone looks like they're in a constant state of afterglow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, hair is just like massive and everywhere. Honestly, it's a look. It's iconic to be entirely fair. Like this is an art style that I am more than familiar with, you know what I mean? But as for the story itself, it is a reincarnation story, but not like it's not that. It's that there was this great battle, and then between the Vampire King and the king at the time, King Philios.
Okay, let's be real. It's the backstory to every isekai you've ever watched or read.
Yeah, so the two of them like were fighting it out, and then Duzel is reincarnated as a house cat, and he thinks that Philios is reincarnated into his granddaughter, Princess Ishtar, like this teenage girl.
By the way, this is supposed to come out like the day after our Ishtar Reacts. That was not intentional.
It was not. I actually moved Ishtar in the schedule, and I actually completely forgot this was going to come out after it, even when I moved it.
I just had this moment before we started recording this of, oh.
Yeah, so basically, the plot line is that there's the Princess Ishtar, and this evil vampire reincarnation cat, Durzel. And he's trying to defeat her, and she is dealing with her own shit in life. And thinking that this is a kitty cat that is hers.
It was kind of just a prologue, wasn't it? Maybe that's why I'm like, it's not that bad, because it was just the setup.
Yeah, I think when I originally got it, I read the rest of the books because I was really confused by the first book. I felt like I wasn't given, like, a proper
story.
Yeah, to bite into. It's like a lot of backstory, a lot of setup, like a lot of characters just kind of like going off and talking and establishing their relationships to one another, in a way that you can see, without anything yet happening. To be quite honest, and I distinctly remember that I think by the end of book 16, I was very done with this. It wasn't the worst thing I've seen or read, but it certainly was not one of the best things I've ever seen or read.
Like, I've seen some trashy-ass vampire stories. This wasn't really... At least the prologue, I never got the sense that it was that trashy as much as it was just kind of there.
Yeah. I think it's very romance-forward. I think that's something that...
Well, so is Rosario Vampire. That doesn't make it less trashy.
Look. At least Rosario Vampire owned its shittiness. Like, Rosario Vampire was just a glorious trash heap. You know what I mean? Like, it was just... That
was one of the first manga I read, by the way.
Apparently, Ishtar wasn't supposed to originally be the main character. It was Duzel. But, you know, the editors were like, Ishtar will sell better, you know, as the main character.
So then they said, what's better than one Ishtar? Ishtar, an androgynous clone of Ishtar.
Yes, very much so. Because Duzel gets a bit of her blood and then he manages to regain a human form, but he is just a male version of Ishtar because it's her blood that he took.
Can somebody mark this as self-cessed?
I mean, it is as much self-cessed as it is when people pair Harry Potter and Tom Riddle together post movie number 4. Holy shit. That's exactly what happened here. Harry Potter movie number 4. Blood of the enemy forcibly taken. You will resurrect your...
I think your memory of Harry Potter movie 4 is very different from my memory of Harry Potter movie 4.
The end of Harry Potter movie number 4. Like, bone of the father, unwillingly taken, you will resurrect your son. Blood of the enemy, unwillingly given, you will resurrect your foe.
I don't remember Voldemort transforming into an androgynous version of Harry.
No, he didn't do that. He was a little snaky. You know, a little... You know, he'd do that tongue thing. So sorry.
Look, you're editing that. You're the one who's going to have to decide whether or not to cut that out.
Just feel deep and lasting disappointment in myself, I'm going to be honest.
You should.
It's because I've been making that joke about anthropology and paleontology recently with dinos. Because, like, small tangent, but my history professor had us read a book, and the book was like, unlike anthropology and paleontology, who are concerned with fossils. And I was just like, I'm a fucking anthropologist. I don't do that dino thing. Rawr. Because, like, I don't do that tongue thing. You know? Anyways. It was
you
really...
want to know a funny coincidence?
What?
At the time of recording this, you know what the newest Fate thing is?
Oh, no.
A shit ton of dino things.
Oh, man. Well, that's not my area of expertise. I don't do that dino thing. Rawr. Mascot?
We've got our own Duzel.
Oh, my God. He's even the right color. She's even the right color. Good little Duzel. You know, one of these days, I'm going to get a cat, and I'm going to name it Duzel. And then I'm going to call it Duzzy, like she does.
Pikachu, I choose you.
Go.
Go.
Oh, no.
Pikachu.
Oh.
Not into the fettuccine, Pikachu.
Oh, not into the fettuccine.
Go into the Diet Dr. Pepper instead.
Okay. To be honest, I don't think the book is on the whole bad, and I think if I were to pass a judgment about the way that the story is structured in this first book, I feel like to do that accurately and fairly, I would need to read quite a few more shoujos from the same era, because I don't know if this sort of like elongated prologue was sort of like a trend or, you know, just something that this one author was doing.
That just kind of feels like a manga thing to me.
Chew on Skahak.
Like, think about how long in My Hero Academia it takes Deku to actually start My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
I think it's just a manga thing to have really long sort of opening acts.
I suppose it's a little... I mean, obviously, we're an anime channel, right?
Yeah.
And I suppose we're a little bit skewed because we watch so much anime these days. Like,
a lot of what we do is completed stuff, so we'll go beginning to end. It's not often that we don't watch stuff like week to week, so...
And I'm going to be honest, I suppose I could have done more than just volume 1, but it kind of felt sort of fitting to just do volume 1 because that's how I first experienced this manga. And even though I have read past then, I'm not entirely sure I'd be comfortable splitting the rest of the manga series up in this case. Like, I feel like from my memory of it, right, which is, it's been a while, but from my memory of the overall series, it's kind of just one big long arc. And so I'm not entirely sure I'd be able to, like, split that up into, like, nice coherent chunks to kind of read and review. It'd kind of be an all or nothing thing. And I didn't really want to make you read, like, 14 to 16 volumes of this.
I didn't particularly want to read 14 to 16 volumes of this. I didn't think it was that bad, but remember, I'm comparing this to Domestic Nakanajo.
That's certainly a marker. That's certainly a statement. You've said something. Was indeed words.
This series is not as trashy as Domestic Nakanajo. What an achievement.
Words to live by. Don't be as trashy as Domestic Nakanajo.
No, do be it. I find that very entertaining.
I will say, a good portion of this book gets like very... I don't want to call it evangelical or like Christian, but like there's a whole lot of like, you are the divine descendant, you are the one who will bring this to the world, and it is your duty as the divine descent. There's a whole lot of that.
So, Mary Sue writing.
Yeah, like Lady Ishtar is really like the root of everything, apparently, you know? Like, constantly, all the time.
Ishtar's worst goddess, so...
Yeah, I mean, you know, this fucking cat. Also, this cat kind of looks like a cross between Pikachu and Growlithe with hair.
A little bit.
I'm gonna be honest, it's adorable.
I mean, look, they just gave Ishtar a Pokemon. Let's be real.
They did. They literally gave Ishtar a Pokemon. I kind of love it. Here's little Duzel. You couldn't see him good on the cover, but like, there's the little dude. He's adorable. God. I feel like the art style's really getting to me, I'm going to be honest.
What, I didn't mind the art style at all. I thought the art style was okay.
No, it's fine. It's just of its age. Like, it takes me back. You know what I mean? Like, it's similar to Boys Over Flowers.
I was looking at that exact same manga.
Yeah, it's not the same, but it's similar. It's like it's like a hybrid between like the Junjo Romantica art style and the Boys Over Flowers art style. And I know that you don't know Junjo Romantica, but if anyone in our audience does, I think that's a pretty apt comparison. Also, keep in mind, this entire thing takes place in like this is Princess Ishtar. It's not anywhere in like our world, but it's also kind of like just generic Middle Eastern fantasy, in terms of like costuming and stuff like that, like desert and not desert and basically like generic Arabian Nights setting. And I can only assume that was partially intentional, judging by names like Ishtar. Honestly, surprised we didn't see Gilgamesh.
This could have used a little bit more Gil.
Everything can use a little bit more Gil, in my opinion.
This is not a hint for next week's Seki React.
It's not. I'm sorry.
Here's your hint. It's not Gilgamesh.
But it will be, eventually.
One day.
Someday. Yeah. I think that's about all I have to say about this manga. I think it didn't make a huge impression on me for content. as much as I think I'll always remember it because it was my first manga. I suppose in a lot of ways it's nostalgic for me. You know, whether it be good or bad, it is, you know, the first manga I read, and that has some value. Like, I will not be getting rid of this copy of this book again.
I mean, my first manga was a Pokemon manga. Not the one we read.
Well, lucky you, having a good childhood and all, with Pokemon. Your bitch was out here reading Vampire Game, probably at the same time. Also,
Elementary school.
Shit, no, that's the other thing I wanted to comment. First of all, I bought this in elementary school. I got this before I knew what manga and anime was. And I did not know even after reading it, because there was nowhere else I knew to go where I could get more volumes like this. And I couldn't find it at Barnes & Noble's, obviously, because they didn't have a big section for that at the time. So even though I read this when I was in, like, elementary school and it was the first manga I ever read, I didn't actually get into manga and anime again until middle school. Like, it was 3 or 4 years before I got a chance to read more manga and anime. Because we got that fun little generational thing where, like, if you didn't grow up with, like, Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh!, then anime was just, like, not a thing unless you were watching, like, Dragon Ball on, like...
Or rental OVAs.
Yeah, which I was not doing. So, in a lot of ways, while this was my first manga, I wasn't even cognizant of the fact that it was my first manga for years. And I was very confused when I bought it about why you started from this side of the book and the order you read. I actually had to utilize that little how to read page in the back.
I mean, that's why they put it there.
I know, and I just, you know. Yeah. Shit, the Warcraft manga was coming out when this was published.
There's a Warcraft manga?
There was a Warcraft manga. Warcraft Legends.
Don't imagine it's any good.
Don't imagine it's still being produced. So I guess with that being said, we'll see you back next time for whatever the fuck we're reading next. I have no clue.
Fuck you.